This is a chance that we could see a Thermite ban, but then should hopefully not be followed up by a Hibana ban.
I don't know that we'll be seeing the Hard Breacher ban. I mean, it would be interesting if we had one of those matches.
Yeah.
Lion gone, not
Lion's
a
just,
surprise.
yeah, he kind of takes over one of those roles. You rarely have the opportunity to ban two other attackers. Definitely, though, a lot of possibilities for this particular map. Ying's a popular one to ban on this, as well as Pulse on the defense. So there are some strats that we'll see come out for different regions, but that Pulse one, like I mentioned, for example, is more of a North American thing.
Yeah, we haven't seen Pulse ban in LATAM, as we noticed earlier, but it would be, I guess this would be a good start for a Pulse ban. There's nothing sensible to get rid of him on this map. Glaz, also sensible.
Yeah, very, as you said, sensible ban, just because, yeah.
A lot of thought was put into that one from Bootkamp. You notice how much they're taking time out of these bans. That second one on the defense was a little bit quicker, but they did really milk the first one, which means they might be just coming up with this on the fly, which is a little bit worrisome.
It's definitely possible. It also might be the case that they were just deciding between two options, depending on how they were feeling. But yeah, you really never know what's going through their head for sure.
Also has to do with the map. I mean, if you didn't see a border coming, then you could be caught off guard a little bit here in this match.
Absolutely. Well, there goes the two Miras. The walking and the standing one.
Yeah, the mobile versus the stationary. Both of them with such high ban rates, and those will be reinforced here in this match. Now, as we load in, it's likely we're going to be seeing Armory, of course, as the first bomb site, though paiN can decide to bring us somewhere else should they choose. Looks like it's going to be ventilation.
Interesting.
I mean, we've seen this before, of course.
Certainly. I mean, it used to be something G2 did even.
Right,
but,
yeah.
They changed their mind, apparently.
Okay, back and forth all over the place. Well,
again, you're talking about the time it's taking to do things here and make decisions is kind of worried a little bit. I'm not sure if Boar's actually going to stick on their sixth picket.
It's a little bit of indecision, right? It's not the end of the world. As long as they get into it, they start winning round, I think it's not going to matter too much.
So they are going to forego the Hard Breacher and go with the Shield. So something similar to what we were talking about with Millennium, but this is risky to be doing.
The difference was that Millennium did not have access to a Hard Breacher, and here you have access to both.
Yeah.
So you can bring the Shield, and you can bring the Hard Breacher.
Yeah, I think
crazy idea, replace the Ashe with a Hibana.
That apparently didn't occur to them. They're going with a very frag-heavy role. If you look at the three attackers outside of the two yellow ones.
Yeah, I'm speaking of the two yellow ones. You combine Finka and Blitz, and that's a fragging combo to be spoken.
Exactly. So this is a very aggressive lineup. This does scream rush push into.
I'm hearing the same echo, the scream of the rush.
Yeah. Smoke already taking a little bit of damage. It might have just been some remodeling work, catching him slightly off guard there. Although he could have been shocked by the Twitch drone as well.
I mean, could have been.
The amount of damage doesn't look like that matches. Although if that's 30, that's 3 shocks to get done, and I don't think that's likely.
That would have required some serious negligence on his part.
Would have been nice on Pal's part, though.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Some damage done to a very valuable defender.
We'll see how it goes down once the attackers start getting closer to the map here, but again, this does look very rush heavy, but we're seeing them spawn in different locations. However, they're rushing 4 of them right here.
It's a rush. Here we go. Pushing in through the Armory wall, and they already have site control. M-King right up front will take down GCR. Blower with the follow-up. Spawns, refrags though. The shield gone means the defenders can fight back in earnest. Paula will take out Spawns though, so a good flank watch here from the Twitch, and the diffuser finally planted. The rush so far paying off as Paula gets yet another kill. Revolt's the last one alive, and before he dies, he manages to get one. But it is all for naught. A successful attack there from Bootkamp and a pretty aggressive rush.
Yeah, certainly not out of character for Latin America, but that's how you like to see things kick off the day.
Yeah.
Just right into the action. No waiting around. I mean, I think if they could have foregone the prep phase, they would have done that as well at that point. But down to vents they go, despite not having successfully defended it. So we are seeing the Finka again here, but they could just be teasing another rush this time and 6th pick off of that just to mess with paiN's head. As you mentioned, that the use of the Finka is generally going to be towards that rush strategy.
I mean, Finka's also just good as an operator if used properly, though you predicted it right. Looks like it's going to be a Thatcher to combo with the Thermite. Sensible. Truly sensible.
Yeah, they're thinking it's going to be lockers again, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would assume the same, but they could still make this kit work,
attacking
onto ventilations. Might see a top take might see a take into the bathroom from Tellers. There are a lot of good options with the Thermite.
With the Thatcher, that does make for an easier straight bathroom take. Just be able to clear the batteries, open the bathroom wall, and go in a little bit quicker if they're, you know, too top heavy, for example.
I'm certainly seeing a clear of the top and followed up by maybe a Teller's bathroom push, since they have the Thermite in hand. You want to use all of the utility available to you. Yeah. And I would have expected an Armory hold as well as a second on this map.
Well, you don't expect to have to defend it against the same rush again, right? So you think, okay, well, we'll just defend this normally next time.
Exactly. So here we go. The setup from paiN. They're clearly putting emphasis on the top floor. The Bandit batteries over in office are going to expect the push that we were anticipating just earlier. And Bootkamp can really bring anything to the table, but you know, when you bring certain operators, you do lock yourself into some attacks. Like, you're not going to be... You can push the front door, though it would have been better with a Blitz and Finka.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to see a top clear followed by a push in through the bathroom Tellers.
I would hope for Bootcamp's sake, though, that they do a little bit of droning just enough to know that at least there is the pulse there, because that will influence a lot of the way you go for the actual execute and whether or not you've cleared him earlier or not, and also where he's going to be playing. We see some, for a lot of times, Pulse will play upstairs and then rotate down later, for example, just because he can help the defenders upstairs anticipate the attack. But there is one attacker down already from the Pulse. Did take a little bit of damage in the process, but he's going to be hanging out downstairs for the moment. Nice initial kill from him, though.
IQ from above doing some damage, and Revolts will get wise to his situation, drop that heartbeat detector, and start relocating. He's lost a lot of HP, and the rotation was almost cut off there. But speaking of cut off, GCR upstairs will go to Boar, and that is not the best rotation for the Bandit. Trying to come out of offices to support his teammate and drop down into open area, but East Stairs control was already lost. M-King also takes down Spawn, so the Maestro cams, the Evil Eyes, will no longer directly influence this round, apart from possibly marking some opponents.
Big problem for M-King, though. He is pretty low on health and most likely has not had a chance to use his breaches yet. So he's going to have to get in a spot to be able to do so, but he gets down and reset. So good use of the time there to make sure that he's able to get his job done. Yeah,
well done to Bootkamp, efficiently resetting their teammate. FK will take down Intact, though. So it's nice and even now at 3-3, as I say, as Boar takes down FK1. So a constant slew of action through this round, neither team relenting or willing to give up the lead, though paiN has finally lost it. The C4 from Revolts will miss, and that's going to prompt the rest of the attackers to push in, knowing that they don't have as much teeth to fight against. Revolts, though, the last defender, his position known, and all he need to do is isolate his opponent. Boar will get the final kill. Bootkamp take round number 2 and put themselves up 2-1 or 2-0.
After that last round, I wouldn't have expected Thatcher to be the one to get the 3K, but nicely done on Boar's part. Just his EMP is not really the most important part of that attack. His gun definitely do some work. It was unfortunate the Pulse went for that throw at that C4 because all you actually ended up doing is clearing out the barbed wire for the attackers. Not a great thing to do in a situation like that where they're stacking up on you, because then they could push you more aggressively. Although, to be fair, it was his aggressive pushing that got himself killed in the end. They are going to try vents once again, though.
Yeah, it's important to note that Revolts had an opportunity to rotate back to site way earlier in the round, and instead he chose to be a little bit aggressive, and it ended up working against him there.
I mean, the upside of playing in the bathroom like that is, yes, you're cornered, but you can at least see how many are coming to you and where they're coming from.
It's a pretty easy hold if you don't have to face any utility.
Yeah, but either way, though, it definitely didn't work out for him. But at least getting one kill on there, at least he put up a bit of a fight. We'll see how things go down this round. Same attacker lineup, same defensive lineup, same bomb site. So this is where we see what are they going to do differently, how they can adjust from the way things went down last time, because now they are trying the same bomb site a second time. But I imagine we'll see things play out a little bit differently, especially in terms of Boar's kills on some of those roamers.
Yeah.
Those, I wouldn't say those were freebies, but those were definitely him catching people a lot of times on rotations, unawares that he was there.
It's important to note that technically Bootkamp can still be put into the relegation spot. Not the bottom one, but the 7th place, and as such they have quite a lot to fight for, just as much as paiN, who finds themselves in that very same relegation spot.
It's Latin America is definitely the region that really comes down to the end, more so than some of the other ones, just because of how close so many of their points were.
All of these matches today will be dealing with that bottom rung and top rung. in terms of who's going to land, who's going to relegations. Here in paiN versus Bootkamp, both teams face relegations. In the next match, that's the only one that doesn't really mean anything. It's FaZe versus Black Dragons. Black Dragons is auto-relegated. In all likelihood, that's going to be the case.
And FaZe isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, and FaZe is in first place. That's solidified. But other than that, you've got a pretty exciting lineup.
The upside, though, is in terms of finding out who goes to LAN, I don't think it will be decided until the very final match. So it should be down to the wire today to see who's actually going to get that spot. That depends on how things play out.
Yeah.
Speaking of playing out, they are trying to play a little more spread out downstairs this time as well. You've got people in tellers, you've got people inside customs as well. They definitely don't want to be caught on I was going to say unawares in sight, but FK won with a nice kill on the Pala. That's definitely going to soften up this attack quite a bit, meaning even in terms of soft breaching, they're going to depend on duds a lot more to open up those walls. But Revolts gets his revenge for last round onto the IQ.
So his C4 being put to good use in this round. Duds trying to clear in through Archives will give away his position as he attacks the barbed wire. And he's got a good angle to cut off FK1, but he's on attack, and FK need but wait. And he will do just that as GCR lays some fire into Duds, rotating out of the Archives. Bootkamp look keen to adjust their attack somewhat, knowing that there is a heavy presence on the top floor from the defense. And they will be attempting to do so, but Duds readdresses GCR and loses the fight. Clearly not the right call in this situation. Looks like paiN are going to finally get around on the third, unless MKing and Boar have something to say about it. 9XT aggressively peeking out of the front door. That was pretty dangerous, but it paid off. Boar will get a frag onto FK1. He's been a standout performer on Bootkamp so far today. Can he get the second, though, is the question. No is the answer. GCR takes it, and paiN their first round.
Say which will, that is still, in a way, 2 good rounds for him. He was the only one to even get a kill for his team that round, following that previous 3K, but yeah, a much more ineffective attack. It was the defenders being so spread out seemed to catch them in a lot of flank positions they were not ready for, not to mention the aggression seemed well timed from the defenders, knowing when to actually strike. Definitely paying off. Interesting that they'd rather go to bathroom tellers than go back up to armory lockers, despite the fact that they, well, could have done so at any point following their loss upstairs. So we'll see how that works out. I got to imagine Bootkamp are thinking they're going to be going there after that. I don't expect this.
The bathroom teller's pick is clearly an attempt to trip up Bootkamp, and it's been successful already. You've got the Thatcher Thermite combination coming out, as you said, anticipating the armory. Now, this is a good 6-pick, in my opinion. The sledge being brought is going to open up a lot of pressure from above. But in all likelihood as well, paiN are probably going to be putting a lot of their defending bodies upstairs. I mean, you even see the castle being brought. That's to help with the top floor hold. A lot of those castle barricades will slow down the push from Archives, for example, from the main hallway. And it's a very important pick. Overall, both teams will have a lot of good operators for this site. The setup, of course, going to be mainly focused around the office itself.
What I gotta wonder, though, is, okay, so you generally bring Castle on 2 sites, this site and the one they just won. So if you see Castle in there and assume it's not a 6th pick, you actually have an idea that this might be the bomb site. And you saw them 6th pick over to the Sledge, which is one of the counters to Castle. Now, of course, they have 2 other soft breachers, so he's not necessary. But it does make me wonder if they did actually start to read into the fact that it was this site. Maybe a little late, but at the same time, you know.
I think it's just they saw Castle, they thought, hey, let's bring a Sledge.
Let's bring a hammer, yeah.
Yeah, we as well solve the problem right now. I mean, we don't necessarily need an IQ. That's not essential.
It's just people rarely bring a Castle for lockers. And so, I mean, if they were thinking that deep into it, you know that it's very likely to be the site. I mean, I suppose you could use it on customs as well, but either way, it looks like they could be going for maybe an office take this time instead of blitzkrieging the front door, so to speak. He's going to stick this good timing with the Thatcher, so Boar's still doing his job, even with not with his gun.
Oh, wow, a rush from Intact. He's trying to cut off the rotation for potential bandit tricking GCR, but he will not be successful. C4 baited out there from Bootkamp. Another wasted one, unfortunately, for paiN.
Well, at least they're getting their good drones in there and making sure that the corners aren't hiding any defenders so they can actually take control of it. Of course, they have to take control of fountains, which is the trickier part, but I don't believe there's necessarily anyone in there unless they let them rotate away from Archives, which they may be doing at the moment. At least taking control, though, from the flank here is Duds, which is a smart approach to make sure that there's additional pressure on the site.
GCR takes out Intactum, and a distinct lack of droning right now is seriously hurting the attack as they attempt to push into the top 4. Paula will take down Revolt, so a refrag, but still damage being done as GCR gets down from above. It's returned in kind. 9XT in an odd spot, but could pay off quite a lot if his position works out in his favor.
Yeah, it's tricky as the SMG recoil has not been reduced yet, as was mentioned in the designer's notes, but works just fine for 9XT. Taking down Boar, who is, we mentioned earlier, been doing pretty good work for his team.
Absolutely. Him being gone is fantastic for paiN, but Paula will refrag it very quickly from the drop down. That's why you don't usually want to play in the B bomb site. It's just too exposed, and Bootkamp taking full advantage. Speaking of, Paula, another kill. He's just been tearing his opponent to shreds in this round, and he's going to continue that work. The castle barricade actually working to the attacker's advantage right now, as Spawn's unable to deny the push from the thermite into the site. MKing going for the defuse plant. He has full cover, and it will go down. GCR able to refrag it, but it's too late. The damage is done. Paula's playing above, and he can deny this diffuser for days. Spawns will be rotating to the main stairs, likely to go up them in an attempt to dislodge Paula, though that's going to be a difficult task. Duds also in a very tricky spot inside of the adjacent bomb site. Will be able to refrag given the right circumstances. Spawns will take out Duds. You can see GCR just peeking onto the drop down, hoping that Paula's going to give him an opportunity, but Paula, playing this very smart, will take out the bandit, leaving just Spawns in an unwinnable situation. Flashbangs come down, the time is elapsed, Spawns cannot win the round. An excellent round for Bootkamp, all thanks to Paula. Really fragging out here.
I mean, in theory, they did the right thing by putting 2 men attacking the 1 defender down there. The unfortunate issue for them was the way to take down Paula was to attack him also with 2 people potentially upstairs with a flank in the situation. But the problem is, one of them was a 3-speed and one of them was a 1-speed. So trying to get up there in enough time to get the kill on him and still be able to defuse is not going to be easy, and that definitely leaves you in a tough spot. Trying to fight it from below, though, not really the right call in that situation, unfortunately. But credit to Paul in the way he rotated angles there, catching the bandit off, facing different. Because when you're watching a hatch, you can't really watch the whole thing very well. You've got to know pretty much where they're positioned to be able to fight upwards. Whereas fighting downwards, not necessarily the case. The same way you have a little bit of advantage in terms of being able to play that. But either way, though, Pallet just playing it smart in the end does win it out. And a good attack overall, taking advantage of as many kills as they could upstairs, and the fact that, like you said, the castle barricades working against them. I mean, they had all the soft breaches to be able to open it up. It was just, it's something that, you know, always feeds into the debate about Castle, right? Is that Castle is a very advanced operator, and that his utility is not difficult to use, but it's difficult to use effectively without the right strategy for your team. In a situation where you also have to be conscious of the fact that there's soft breachers on the attacking team, and more often than not, unless you have impact nades, you don't have a way to quickly remove castle barricades the same way they do. So in theory, they actually, depending on the lack of impact nades or not, have the advantage in being able to decide when that gets opened.
Yeah.
5 seconds left before
I mean, ultimately, it does come down to you as a defender putting them in positions where they're more often than not going to work in your advantage.
It's tricky.
I mean, even when they get opened up, you know, sometimes it's hard to find those positions too. It's the tricky part.
Similar to the debate about, do I reinforce this wall or do I open it up, right?
Right.
You have to play it the way you set it up, and if you don't play it that way, you could get caught against yourself.
It's the same thing with Mirror Windows, and why a lot of teams are, you know, yes, okay, she's a powerful operator, but she also gets banned a lot. And more than that, sometimes if a mirror window is opened when you don't want it open, it just wow, your defense is gone.
Yeah.
So it's why we see a lot of teams practicing without her these days. DCR going to take some early damage, and he will walk away, still very much intact. You know, it looks like Bootkamp keen on clearing the top 4 yet again. Sensible. It worked out for them last round, attacking the very same site. Paula, of course, able to get that ace, which was impressive. Really going all over the world too. He came from multiple different angles to get it. Wasn't just all in the same situation.
You gotta take advantage of that speed when you got it, right?
Exactly.
GCR also trying to do so, but he's still taking more damage though. His aggression seeming to not work out. I like the way he's at least rotating back, get some help from his buddies, make sure he stays alive. But Spawn's being this very aggressive roamer downstairs a lot of times here, trying to play that Maestro just out in customs yet again.
Ooh, timing there for FK1, and he will actually be downed from the angle just outside of CCTV. Luckily, salvageable, as if you're down mid-vault, your vault will finish, and you can be picked up on the other end.
Good timing on his part then. It was definitely a situation, though, where both of these defenders are just getting punished for their peaks. We're seeing very little damage on the attackers. Boar, however, following it up with an actual kill onto an important defender.
Now, FK eating some more damage from Paula. GCR still very much lit up, and the pressure that paiN are feeling right now just seems to be too much for them. As Duds takes down FK1, that seems to be the case. The diffuser being planted, and paiN has nothing to say about it. Just inside of B, in the very same default location we saw from Bootkamp the last round, though the difference here is Bootkamp are in much better stride, and they have more bodies left alive. GCR knows he's being pressured from above and also from below. Every angle, really. As Paula takes him down, attempting to rotate, he will not be able to think much more in this particular round. Revolts will take down Paula, though. A little bit of a foolhardy rush there from Paula. Opens up a 2K for Revolts, but Intact will shut him down. So many bodies for Bootkamp, and even as Spawns takes down Boar, he's in a 1 versus 2, and Duds will finish him off. Bootkamp take the round and the half, 4-1.
I gotta question the aggression from Paolo there, but so many people left alive. You know what? It didn't matter ultimately in the end, but you really didn't need to throw more bodies at it. It was such a, I mean, you just won that last round by staying upstairs.
It's called frag hunting. You know, there's in that situation, I get why you would do it, but you're definitely not a great call. Ultimately, they won the round, though.
Yeah. I mean, Ash is not really an operator for patient players, let's be honest.
I mean, that's true. If we're being fair, but at the same time, you know, you got to differentiate yourself between, you know, from the other Ash players. You know, one big thing we always like to talk about is that, you know, Ash used to be main meta back when there wasn't so much utility available to both teams.
Yeah.
And she's seen a little bit of a backpedal since then. She's really fallen off in the pick rate. Not in Latin America. She's still 40% in LATAM, but in every other region. But Ash mains, you know, Ash players are kind of just everywhere. You know, every team has a player that was once an Ash main.
Well, we just saw that designer notes thing, and you saw where Ash was on the graph. It was pretty far high in the pick.
I actually have not reviewed it yet.
It was by far, like, just way away from every other operator. I think it was like 70% pick rate in Platinum, Diamond, and Ranked. So
yeah, well, I mean, in Ranked, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I just mean as a, it's almost like it's practically the default op they give you when you install this game at that rate.
Yeah, the gap between Diamond Ranked and this level of play is astronomical. Yeah. So, I mean, it has no bearing on this match.
Well, speaking back to this match, that we're actually going to Tellers first.
Yeah, so Bootkamp bringing us to, well, I want to say a different or an odd site, and normally it would be considered just that, but clearly not in this match.
I mean, 3 rounds in a row for Tellers so far. So far, the last 2, of course, both went attacker favored, so it is interesting to go to a site that you've seen fail pretty badly for the other team and think, I can do that much better.
Well, in all fairness, the only site that we saw paiN win was Ventilation.
And only the second time around.
Yeah, so I don't know. If we're using the other team as a measuring stick.
Yeah, not the greatest at the moment, but I mean, they were only on round 6 here.
True, true. Bootkamp, though, look poised for victory as they have a substantial lead over their opponent. FK going to start opening up these castle barricades, and he will also lay down some fire into archives. Good pressure could be applied from this rappel, though it is very dangerous. There are a lot of runouts available to Bootkamp should they choose to utilize them.
Well, unfortunately, Spawns is going to utilize one on Pala, and that is one of the good fraggers on defense. Now down. I imagine his utility got up, but his C4 probably still in pocket, and Boar gets finished off as well by GCR. So we're again seeing what looks like a Bathroom Teller's defense flush down the toilet.
Yeah, the attack, just establishing angles. I mean, there's nothing really to talk about other than the fact that Spawns was on rappel, and killed one person, downed another, and GCR finished him off. I mean, that was just Bootkamp being exposed to angles they shouldn't be exposed to, like that one. Spawns with his technical third, though only actual second. GCR will get his actual second, so it's between Spawns and GCR in this round, leaving MKing in an ace or kick, I guess, position. This is not ideal
well, at least
for the alibi. in a way, yes, there are 4 of him with the alibi sensors, so maybe that will aid him. As GCR gets reset outside of the front door, MKing looking to get the kill, but bad timing and spray from his weapon, and he will be unsuccessful. Though, peeking onto Spawns, we've got 1, GCR shuts him down finally. That's 3 for him in the round on technicality, and 2 for Spawns. Excellent round for paiN.
Well, luckily for Bootkamp, they had a little bit of slack in terms of score. It's still, you know, double the score of your opponent, so in a 4-2 situation. So not in the worst position, but not a great way to start your defensive switch there, showing that maybe this is a whole match is going to be fairly attacker favored, as we have had 5 attacking round successes and 1 defensive round. We're going to finally see lockers for the second time. Now, it is odd to see that we're on round 7 before we see it a second time.
Yeah, Armory usually the primary bomb site for most teams, and not so, I guess, in this match. It was the first one that paiN went to, though they didn't go to it after their failure there.
Well, we'll see, though, how it's going to go down there. A little bit of different lineup here in the sense that there's going to be a mute being played from Bootkamp, slightly different. And we're, of course, not likely to see the rush strat coming out from paiN.
I don't see it as likely. Yeah, no, I think, you know, you use that rush strategy card once, and then it's done. It's busted. From then on, through the rest of the match, people will be expecting it from you. In fact, not just through the rest of the match. You know, you use a rush strategy, and then for the next 5 matches, people are like, careful, they could rush.
First round jitters at that point.
Yeah, I mean, in every round, really.
Could happen at any time.
Yeah, teams don't really relent with their vigilance on rush strategies from teams that are known to bring rush strategies. That's why it was brought here in this match, because the stakes are so high that it was necessary.
Absolutely, and it's the case where the defenders do at least have some information that they can see what the attackers are bringing outside of the 6th pick and have some signal that that's happening, but there's definitely ways to kind of hide that or disguise that. We'll see, though, if this defense is going to work. There was one yokai pretty far off site. In fact, it looks like both of them are off site at the moment for the most part. So hopefully Pal's got some good use for those and doesn't end up in a situation where there's no way to stop the plant from going down at the end. Or at least they have a smoke.
Looks like as an Echo, he's playing more of an information Echo, which is, I mean, of course, it's one of his main roles, but not having any plant denial, they're going to have to rely on fragging their opponents before they get to the actual bomb site. There's still, you know, the smoke and C4 potentially play. The Maestro as well with the evil eyes, but, you know, that you got to double up on some things at times, and plant denial is certainly one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it does help if you can use the yokais to help deny their ability to take the important parts of map control, like CCTV and stuff like that. If you're successful with that, great. Or even successful in just burning up a lot of time and forcing them to take it without losing bodies. I mean, you do have 2 yokais, so yeah, there is that for sure. Hopefully Intact will stay alive long enough to be able to use his utility, though, as of course he can't just drive it around the map.
FK wary of a run-up from CCTV, and this is the same thing that we were seeing on Bootkamp's attack. paiN's not droning, like, at all.
Yeah.
Bootkamp had the same problem. It's just like they don't drone. I'm so confused. You can see there's one person on drones right now. That's 9XT, so a little bit of work being done, but Spawns will catch the run-out of Boar, who then loses connection. Not sure what happened there.
He got shot off the game.
He got shot out of the game, yeah, so it seems. So a good start for paiN as they put themselves 1 ahead.
Definitely seems like maybe it's not necessarily the dominance of Bootkamp so much as just the dominance of attack in this round, which, despite the lack of droning, it seems counterintuitive.
I mean, in all fairness, Border is kind of a shallow map, I suppose. It's not really, but the way that both of these teams have been playing on defense makes it so. Because as you can see, Duds, the Jaeger, is inside of CCTV, and he's playing by the big desk. This is such an exposed position. You don't necessarily need to drone it as much as predict it. And if you do drone it, which it seems Spawns will do right now, then you get so easy kills onto players in those spots. Speaking of easy, GCR from below will open up a lot of floor. and light up his opponent of Duds, who will be finally finished off by Spawns, peeking just into CCTV.
Nice attempt from Intact, though, to try and get that refrag.
So, Bootkamp now only need delay for 20 seconds, but they are at a man disadvantage. Only one gas canister left on Intact Smoke, and he will use it in earnest to attempt to deny the push in through Armory Wall. He will be successful as he takes down 9XT. The spray from MKing not doing any damage at first, but it will finally find a target of GCR. And what a sweep from Bootkamp. paiN just felled absolutely one-sided there in the final engagement. It didn't look like there was anything that paiN had to respond to.
Yeah, they got very stacked up right outside the room there. And that's the problem is when you try and push into a room like that, you either need to know where all the defenders are at, or you need some way to deny them from being able to push back against you, whether that be Candelas and smokes, things like that. But in this case, the smoke had all his canisters left. They had very little time on the attack. Despite the fact that they were, down 2 players, they were still in a good position to be able to push back just off of utility and time alone. Unfortunately, the attackers didn't have a huge enough advantage to really turn that around. So, in the end, they were forced pretty much at that point into the shotgun. So, luckily, Boar was able to return those, so we didn't necessarily have to go for a rehost. But this could still be the final round here that we see on Vents. Boar is going to go for that 6th pick. Last time he 6th picked onto the mute. This time he's going to go away from it to mute. So cleverly done there. It's going to trick no one. Volt's going to bring out the Sledge, though. And we saw Sledge earlier, a very high pick rate for Latin America. But they're both bringing the Sledge and the Buck, which is interesting. We sometimes see regions like Latin America was actually pretty favoring the Sledge for a while over taking the Buck. And that's part of the reason why you see its pick rate so high. But as you saw earlier in the pick rates, Sledge and Buck were actually fairly close together as well. So it's interesting that a region that will a lot of times bring double hard breachers also will bring the kind of double soft breacher vertical play ops as well.
Yeah, I mean, LATAM is one of those regions that always likes to double up on things they think they need. And if you think you need soft destruction, then heck yeah, bring double soft destruction. I mean, they even technically have quadruple if you consider
yeah.
FK and Spawns to be soft destructors, though that's really the side utility for them.
Yeah. In a way, all 5 of them are destructors. If you count Thermite, then it's a hard destructor.
You could use Thermite as soft destruction, sure, but if we're trying to classify as roles, we have 2 soft destructors, a hybrid, a fragger, and a hard destructor here on the attacking lineup. On defense, though, lots of information being brought. The Valkyrie also being played, which has been played less than you would expect, considering she was left unbanned in this match. We also have the Mute for counterintelligence and the Maestro for his own information. A spray from Paulo for a run out onto the balcony, and he will take down GCR. Excellent timing there from the Valkyrie, probably being called from some kind of camera, maybe outside, or just having great game sense.
Unfortunately for them, the diffuser is now just sitting outside CCTV with no one risking picking it up just yet as well. So Paolo's doing a great job just playing time, moving away from the positions. Yeah, he's having to give up the map control, but they didn't really need control of those areas. There's been quite a few attempts already on his life. And failed!
Paula, an excellent shot onto FK1. That's 2 for him. And he has almost single-handedly, I mean, okay, you're on match point. It's 5-2, and you're losing men like flies. 9XT goes down, and Spawn's able to get a refrag. But at this point, the moral blow to paiN might just be a mortal one as well, as they now are looking down the barrel of utter defeat.
Definitely not looking good for them. Some okay utility left on the attacker side, but certainly not enough to really make this something that's highly doable. They have some time, a minute 25 left. There is drones coming out, but those mute jammers are also going to make that a little bit harder to pull off. However, they've managed to sneak past a few of them. But there is plant denial left. There's going to be at least 2 C4s. There's going to be the smoke canisters. Even if they get in a great position, if they don't kill the right operators, well, there's a good start. It's just not going to work out.
Paula with the final 2 kills, and Bootkamp, take the round and the match. They end it 6-2. Quite a dominant one to start things off today. Bootkamp will, if I'm not mistaken, assure themselves not relegated. They will not be pushed down to that relegation spot, no matter what. With that victory, paiN, on the other hand, I think that's it, all things considered, for them. Yeah, I believe that means that they will be in that 7th spot no matter what.
Not a great place to be. At least they're not completely out. This is the one region that managed to save one of the spots, managed to stay in, and I believe it was paiN actually was the team that stuck through last time that were Gaming before, if I remember correctly.
Possibly, though. I mean, I'd have to look it up. What we do know now is they're going to have to, if it is them, do it twice.
Yeah, and absolutely the case, because we saw last time there was relegations, every single team but Gaming go out in the relegations matches and trade in the Challenger League. And we're seeing some of those Challenger League teams going back out as well. So we're going to see Black Dragons going to be heading their way right back out, it looks like, from their victory into it. But either way, a good match, I think, in Bootkamp, despite all the losses on that map, despite the fact that paiN had a 1-for-1 success rate on that. I feel like we saw a lot of aggressive confidence from them this time.
Yeah, we definitely saw Bootkamp in good position there. Don't forget to vote for the MVP. You could do so on at ESL Rainbow6 on Twitter. We'll have that poll up shortly. There were a lot of standout performances, but of course, I mean, Paula with that ace on the teller's attack. I mean, when somebody gets an ace on you, again, it's going to hurt your morale quite a lot.
Yeah.
And overall, we saw a lot of that being a part of the Bootkamp attacks. They always had attacks that would really sunder the defense, or defenses that would get aggressive and really, defang the attack.
Yeah.
Every time they were just not relenting, and it didn't seem like at any moment paiN were able to recover. One thing that I did really notice from both teams is there was a distinct lack of droning on attack. Curious that is the case, considering how their opponents were playing on defense, leaving them very exposed to drones, combined with the fact that the way both teams were playing on attack would be aided quite a lot with a little bit of droning information.
Especially since a lot of people were playing fairly static rooms, like they would just take that room and hold it in there.
Ones too.
Yeah. Like, for example, the Maestro in Customs, just planting himself down there.
It was an odd match to be sure, but it's concluded now, and we will have FaZe versus Black Dragons up next after this short break.